Good, because I don't care either.
I don't care. Do you care? I don't care.
What?
Do you?
Hey, Nick, what are you doing?
Oh, hi.
Wait, are we live?
Yeah, we're recording.
Yeah,
there,
so
buddy.
Connor's got this good thing where he likes to start it and not tell anybody.
Yeah.
So
It makes for good content.
yeah, it makes it if you can't see air quotes, authentic.
It's so you can
Yeah.
you can see
Unique.
the real us. when
Yeah.
we're not on air.
If this podcast isn't enough. That's right. Turn your phone on silent, Nick, please.
Oh yeah, I forgot the on
This
air.
is the movie. Yeah, the on-air light is on.
Yeah, yeah.
That means all silence your cell phones and please be courteous of others watching the movie.
I'm gonna get you an on air sign, and I'm gonna get you one that's like the one on planes where it's got like the no smoking and
No, but I encourage smoking.
ladies and gentlemen, the seatbelt sign has now been turned off. You are free to roam around the cabin.
You're free to smoke about the cabin.
Oh, the good old days of smoking on a
I
plane.
know.
Yeah,
Did you
really.
can you believe that? Like you used to. That was like normal. Like
Yeah.
you could smoke
I know.
planes.
Yeah.
And then they got super anal about it. Like they're just like you
Well,
know.
yeah. You can't even smoke. I
obsessed.
can't even smoke my e-cigarette on the plane. Damn it! You know those battery-powered things that vaporizers and stuff.
I know.
Vape Nation, bro. Vape Nation.
Or
All
if
right,
you
that's
or if
it.
you
The
had
podcast is done.
or if you had like the Galaxy thing where like they'll blow up in your pocket.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
where the batteries were like
Yeah.
exploding and shit. Oh man, that was crazy.
So just to go ahead and preface on this
yeah, we have a third in here.
effing podcast, we have a third.
We have a guest.
We
He's
have another
very
guest.
handsome.
He's very. He's as you might say, tall. So he comes in at a whopping 6 foot. He's dark,
Tall, dark, and handsome.
and he's quite the handsome
SpongeBob.
feller.
I'm what SpongeBob aspired to be.
Yeah, pretty much. He's the muscle man. He's got the muscle arms.
Yes.
So, Mr. Adam, how are you doing?
Hello.
Sorry, we're gonna have to edit that out. Keep going.
Damn it, Connor!
I'm sorry. Okay. Mr.
Mr. Adam.
Mr. Adam.
Mr. Adam. So,
Mr. Arms.
tell us about yourself. From the little I know about you,
The little.
the little I know about you.
That's the first lie.
You're quite the muscular feller.
He's Mexican.
You're recently off the caravan.
I've successfly evaded.
Yeah. So let me get
He's one of the
this-
ones that
I've
made it
gotten
in.
here.
So let me quickly let me get this straight. So you're recently off the caravan, and you also are a gun lover.
Yes.
How does that work?
Yeah. Do explain yourself, sir.
Like political, like what do I like that?
Whatever
Or-
you want, man. Just talk about the fact that you recently crossed the border, and
We
you're-
make jokes on this podcast. It's okay.
So you recently crossed the border, yet make America great again. Am I right?
Yes, 100%. Make America great again.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, it's weird because I think growing up, I was. Well, so I grew up. So I was born in Philadelphia. My mom was from the New Jersey area, and she met my father.
Hey, them Eagles though.
I know I'm a huge Eagles fan. Fly Eagles fly. Hey, I know that's not popular around here. You guys want to?
Well, I'm out of
You
this
guys want to?
conversation.
You guys want to burn me at the stake because I'm not a Cowboys fan?
I don't really care.
No,
okay.
I know.
Well,
Well,
I mean,
most people.
Look at the current state of that place.
Well,
That isn't a very left-leaning. I'm
No. So my father was from San Diego. And my parents met, and growing up, I moved here when I was 6. Yeah, I it's really interesting. My political, I would say out of all of the guys, like I kind of went through like the craziest switch, or one of them.
I would agree.
Yeah,
100%.
I was more of like I would never say I was ever like a lefty or ever thought that way. I was more of like a libertarian when I was younger, but more so. Okay, so by the way, so I'm half Hispanic. So, when you're half something, you're like, okay, what the hell am I, right? Like you're always trying to find out like can I identify with the white people?
Do I
or-
have to agree with these
or do
people
I have
that
to
look
agree
like
with
me?
these people? Yeah, or like,
No, so-
or like, am I Hispanic or what? That's yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because earlier we were chatting on the way up here about. So, for Connor and I, it's pretty easy when we're filling out any type of document that's legally, it's easy for us to
know
just
where you're
put
going with this.
Caucasian, right?
yeah,
right?
yep.
So,
White.
So, explain to the people who could be listening, like, what it's like to grow up, especially in your case, where you have to choose, like, what am I?
Yeah. Well, so I mean, as far as you have to remember, I only ever grew up around white people largely up in the Northeast and in Texas. So that's kind of what that's what I was most familiar with. That's what I identify with the most, because that's the culture and the people I grew up around. But I remember even back whenever I was in and this is such a shame. I'll never forget this. Even back in like elementary school, I remember we had to cross like our ethnicity and our race, which is interesting because ethnicity is not the same as race.
Just like the sex is not the same as gender, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, it's like, okay, so like for Hispanics, you generally put in your ethnicity as Hispanic and then your race as white, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's
but
weird.
I think ethnicity can be divided. That's like Native American.
Does that mean you're a
Caucasian.
Hispanic white? Just like African,
So-
or you're a Hispanic American?
Yeah, but what's interesting is like I hate about that is that you don't really know what that like ethnicity, like so you say, okay, I'm Hispanic. Well, what does that really mean? Well, I mean, that's so broad. Like you could be from Cuba and be a Hispanic. You could be from Brazil and be a Hispanic. You can
American.
Yeah, or Latino. Excuse me. Yeah.
Yes.
But no, so this kind of, I'm just basically trying to understand what you are is kind of being able to identify with something is I think is important. That's intrinsically part of being a human being.
Yes. Well,
So that was just something that, when you're mixed race, you kind of have like a little struggle. Yeah.
struggling.
Well, and then I remember a lot of my family, they would be like, "Oh, you want to put Hispanic because that means you can get scholarships and."
Was that really a thing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, it still is a thing.
Well, I meant for you. I know that's a thing. But
Oh,
I mean,
right, right. But people were like, "Oh,
I also know you're not like a lot of other people.
Right. Yeah, I'm definitely kind of. Well, I kind of think I had a crazy amount of very specific circumstances that led me to kind of think the way I think, and it's kind of
You've
even
gone
to me,
down
it's very
the hole,
interesting.
haven't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I have fully gone down the.
I love.
As we say.
This is why I wanted to have you on the podcast, because I love listening to your rants and your crazy good tangents that a lot of people I think would find really, I don't know, like just way out there.
Let's just say that if you're listening to this episode, it's a good storytelling episode.
Oh yes, I love listening to
Like, you may not hear from Connor and I very much. This is a good story
No,
episode.
well, yeah. I
and there's
know.
quite a
I
few
just
people on this
don't think a
podcast
lot.
who listen who are really big movie lovers. So there may be some references from The Matrix.
Yeah, or Matrix.
That's a good one.
That's I would say that's probably the most
or one of the
relatable for people.
Oh yeah,
the fallen star. What was his name? Jim Carrey. Yes.
Jim Carrey.
He's. I used to.
I
Love him.
used to
love
love
his
him, too.
movies. But he is batshit crazy.
Yeah,
now.
yeah. I'd say like just in the last couple of years. I mean, he's really
he's taken a
really
dive.
lost it.
For sure.
Yeah,
Like, he is
that's a shame.
mental. I don't know what planet he's on, but it's not the same as everyone else. Well, it's probably the same as everyone else in Hollywood, but
Right. It's a shame because Hollywood, like you grew up watching a lot of these movies and then at the same time,
Oh, yeah.
you're taught,
Yeah.
love America and all these kinds of things, and then
Mm-hmm.
now it's like, oh my gosh, man, a lot of these people, they really like if you, if it's gun rights or whatever, like they're really anti all those things.
pretty much everything American.
Yeah, well, it's just pretty much anything that individual rights.
Yeah,
they,
which is
they toe
American.
that lefty line now, which is a shame.
Oh yeah, and like everything this country that's great about this country they don't like individual thoughts and ideas, and
No,
they don't like the fact that you're able to own a gun,
Yep.
and they don't like the fact that this is what I was telling you about. This is kind of my idea of like, this is why I was telling you about this earlier. Like, the people that are at the top, like, I don't know, I guess you could call it the top, but, like people that are like in the mainstream media that like, they're already at the top, they're already comfortable, they already, they're good, So they don't have to worry about the average American citizen.
No.
They don't have to. So they spew out this just ridiculous leftist crap that they want everyone to believe in, because if they believe in it, it doesn't. Like that. it makes it better for them because they don't have to agree with everyone else's thoughts and ideas and freedoms that this country has.
Yeah, it's kind of the nature of power, and kind of when you kind of get up to the, when you're a part of the quote unquote ruling class, you're so disassociated. Yeah, you're disassociated from the common with the everyday common man experiences, and so that's why it's kind of like hypocrisy, right? Like if you have if you're a celebrity or you're a singer or something, you have security, you have you live in a gated community.
That's another one I find hilarious.
You live away from maybe harder areas, or you're directed to like near people, and so it's like when violence happens, everyone kind of wants to have this moral superiority that we should stop the gun. We need more gun control.
That's the first thing they jump to.
We want to protect people, and if
people, if you want to protect people, give everyone, not everyone, but
it's just
most people.
It's just that you can't say that I want gun control for the average citizen.
Yeah.
And then at the same time have people to protect you.
Yeah.
And have gated communities and areas where
I saw
other people. No one can just walk in.
Exactly.
You need security guards.
Exactly.
Like that's not.
I think it's kind of funny. Oh yeah, I think it's incredibly hypocritical when I see like people that they're incredibly wealthy. And they're incredibly like they're left leaning, and they say that no one should have a gun and this and that, and because guns kill people and it's unsafe. Yeah. But they live in these like freaking mansions and with armed guards. I've seriously seen. I've been to a house where the front gate says armed guards on duty, and I won't say his name, but I know who lives there, and he's very wealthy. A lot of people know him in this city.
Yeah, well, it's just the reality is that statistics, again, the facts of gun control don't really bear weight to the threat that is they're trying to sell.
Yeah,
like AR-15 semi-automatics. 80% of all death is from handguns. It's not actually from rifles,
from the infamous AR-15.
It's just because it was just so politicized that's something that they're like enemy number one. The scary black rifles and all that need to be banned. And it's just not statistically. It's not,
you and I touched on this.
Yeah, go ahead and explain to him what we were talking about the other day.
So we basically talked about what it'd be like to put wood furniture on an AR-15 because then it won't be scary anymore.
Yep.
We talked about
it's the perception of
it's how I dress.
Looks scary.
All black, I'm scary.
Yep. Yeah, pretty much. So, and then we also talked about if you're a part of the Space Force, it's called the Astronaut Rifle 15. if you're part of the Air Force, it's the Air Force Rifle 15.
Sign me up.
If you're part of the Army, it's the Army Rifle 15.
The Mars mission alien Killinator 15.
It's just there's but we all know it stands for Armalite.
Armalite, yes,
Armalite
not assault
15.
rifle. It is
Correct.
Armalite.
Wait, it's not assault rifle.
No, sadly it is not.
Sadly, it's not.
That was sarcasm there.
It was actually patented. It was Armalite got the rights to name it because they basically bought those patent rights from Colt, right? And changed it to AR for Armalite rifle.
Which is I also love the whole line of people don't need First of all, they use the term machine gun and assault rifle. All that's incorrect, anyways. But they say weapons of war. Weapons meant for war. People shouldn't have the right to, or don't need those, is what they say. But it's funny because they don't even fucking use AR-15s in the military.
Right.
It's a semi-automatic rifle.
No, there's no military that uses the AR-15.
Exactly.
No, God, no.
Because it's not fully automatic, which people can't own unless you have incredibly, permits and ridiculous hard permits to get. Right. But
and it's funny, a lot of people don't realize like the AR-15 shoots on average a 223 or 5.56.
Most generic, yeah.
That's the pretty generic round for the AR-15. The 223, if you look at that, it's a decimal point 223. What else is very similar to that? I don't know, a .22. So a 22, right?
Yeah.
Right. Like so anybody who joined the Boy Scouts or anybody who's just like shot one gun and then they just decided to like close them all off. Yeah. They're like, oh yeah, I shot a 22, and I'm
which I did.
Yeah,
right.
I was in the Boy Scouts.
Yeah, and I was in the Boy Scouts too. Like that's what I shot was a 22. Like that's what a lot of people.
I wasn't in the Boy Scouts, but I shot a 22 several times.
That's usually the first gun people shoot because
it's like a pea shooter.
Yeah, it's basically a pea shooter.
Yes.
the AR-15 is not really far off from that. It's a 223
Yeah, it's
versus
just-
a 22.
It's essentially the same size. It's got a little more powder behind it.
Right.
But still,
right.
like, it's funny. Like, I went to the range with somebody,
Yeah.
and I'm not kidding you. I really fucking did this. I put the AR-15 up to my forehead, one-handed, and I shot it at the target just
And
to
everyone's-
prove,
yeah.
just to prove that the
That it's-
AR-15 has so little recoil
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
that it didn't
it's
even
not,
hurt.
It's not the 12 gauge. I shit you not. I saw this video. And I'm
Oh,
sure
yeah.
there's more. This probably happened more than one time. Where on the news, it's like the destructive nature of the AR-15, and I shit you not. There's a dude holding an effing 12 gauge, and he's shooting like a watermelon, and the watermelon just explodes.
Yep.
And it's like this AR-15. I'm like, the dude's holding a pump action shotgun. Like, what are you? You're so retarded.
Yeah, actually, in 2012, 2013, I was during the whole Sandy Hook thing.
Oh my god.
Oh my
And
god!
I actually think it was Joe Biden that came out and he's like, if you want to, self defense, buy a shotgun. Don't buy an AR-15. I'll never forget that. I remember he said that.
Oh my
and
god! If you bought a
that's-
shotgun and
dude.
got a slug, dude,
I know.
that would tear you apart.
Yeah.
It's a lot more
Oh
deadly.
yeah, like where it's like if you get shot with a 9mm, like in certain areas, there's a good chance you'll live. You know, if you get a slug through anywhere on your torso, you're
Right.
probably toast. Like,
Yeah.
you're
Well,
dead.
and so this kind of brings it all into, well, what's the real point of pushing for gun control? Okay. Mm-hmm. This is huge because I feel like everyone is like, okay, the nuances of this, deadly. Really what it comes down to is a centralization of power
yes.
in the hands of government, of the hands of an elite few who don't feel you, the common man, should have the power.
It's anti individual ideas and rights.
Yes, it's just individual rights that
Yeah.
they don't believe it's for me and not for thee. Like, so this is how you know that this is a double standard, not only double standard, but this is very, very evil. So all the bills that you know of, largely in, like, let's say like California, so I think California is now the most anti-gun state.
Yeah.
When it came to the assault rifle ban in 2001, I believe, 2001, that was the initial ban.
Was it actually called assault rifle ban?
I think so.
What? Oh my god.
See, these are certain things like I wish I remember specifically, but yes, no, that
I
was
hope not.
So in 1994, they came out with this is underneath Clinton was the assault rifle ban, which they didn't quite ban assault rifles, but guns that had these certain specific
Yeah,
features
yeah.
that we've talked
The
about,
scariness.
or that you guys have talked about.
Yeah.
Yes, like recoil lug, adjustable stock, telescoping stock, whatever, all those things.
Yeah.
Well, that was only a 10-year clause, and then it
Really?
would lapse. Yes, from
I didn't know
1994 to 2004. And believe it or not, George Bush, W. Bush, actually was for reinstating it.
Really?
Yes, he was.
I did not know that.
But because Congress ended up not pushing that through, basically, like, George Bush is like, hey, do you want me to reinstate it? And because
Wow.
Congress at the time, I think they were busy with the Iraq War and a couple of other political
Probably
issues, they actually didn't.
Yeah.
I bet you never knew that. Like, most people don't realize that.
Yeah.
But
And also, just so you know, it was the assault weapons ban.
the assault weapons ban. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Anything that
They actually use the word assault.
Yeah,
Yeah,
assault weapon.
yeah.
And this is where they
That's-
get you, right? This is where they get you. It
Yes.
includes
Change rules.
many military look-alike semi-automatic rifles. So they can pretty much look at anything that doesn't have wood furniture and be like, well, that looks like
Well, this
military.
is all
How
right, right.
incredibly
Yes.
gray area is that?
Exactly. Well, that's exactly what it's
That's
designed
bullshit.
to be. Look, if you can make something
California, dude.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
you
no,
can make
that's
something
true.
if you can make something a gray
Oh yeah.
area item, well, you can
Make it
ban
look
more
tactical.
of it.
Yeah.
You can yeah.
I
It's-
told you about the time when I was in California for work. I got, like, the rare occasion I actually had some spare time to just go kill. I was around the corner from a gun shop, surprisingly enough, from the hotel.
That's where you
I
got
was
my
staying at.
favorite
Yeah,
shirt.
I got Nick a shirt there because I thought it was so badass, and I was in there, and I was just kind of talking to one of the guys that worked there, and I was like, I am from Texas, I'm just here for work, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh man, you got the good state. And I was like, yeah, well, that's I wish it wasn't like that, wasn't like California everywhere. But anyways, he mentioned to me that they were in the or they had just, I don't know if it was just passed but California had signed a bill or whatever, or had just passed a law that they were essentially in the process of getting rid of all their AR. Like they were like, yeah, we have till like November to sell the rest of our AR-15s, or else like we can't sell them like legally. And I was like, huh, that sucks.
Yep.
That is incredibly dumb. I'm glad I don't live in this shitty state.
Well, it's a slow encroachment. It's a slow encroachment, and this is you have to remember this has already been tried before. You just need to look at other nations that have very, very terribly restrictive gun laws.
Oh yeah.
It's like in Europe at one point you could have semi-automatics, like in England per se before the Dunblane shooting and massacre in 1996. It's a death by 1,000 cuts. They have a specific target gun that they believe is too dangerous. They will change the wording around it to instill fear. It's something that socialists or political, controlling parties like communism in the past did. They change words and their meanings to try to use it as something that is demonized and hated and you can't say.
Yeah.
Or that will strike fear into people. So people are like, oh, assault weapon. So that's like it's like stabbing or a slicing or weapon.
Make it sound scarier.
It's like a knife.
Make
like
it sound more dangerous.
It's like an assault knife versus just a knife.
An assault knife.
Yeah.
It doesn't have wood furniture on it. It's evil.
Right.
Yeah.
And they do that to try to get people to want to ban this specific thing. And basically it's whatever it is through feature, through function. It eventually goes from feature to function at some point. But the problem is that eventually, if they had it their way, they would ban almost everything. Actually, they would. I mean, think about it. Think about if they were to ban I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say semi-automatic rifles, which is openly what it really means. Well, they would ban that. Okay, and so let's say you only can have like lever action or a bolt action gun. Okay. Well, then let's say they're going to be like, well, those bolt action rifles are sniper rifles.
Yeah.
So that's too dangerous.
They're too dangerous, yeah.
So we need to limit those. And it's like it will never, ever stop. It's like a rolling snowball that gets bigger and bigger
more and more
bigger.
dangerous.
And I think that is...
Gets out of hand at some point.
Yeah, and it really speaks to the brilliance of the Founding Fathers because we need to understand what is power.
They were future-proofing this country.
Yeah,
or at least trying to.
Or at least trying to. It was like a backstop.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
it's great.
When you understand the nature of power, okay, is the threat of force everywhere. Like every government you follow the rules and the laws because you're afraid that if you don't...
Because you can't quite do everything you want.
Yes.
But, this is the closest country. This is the country where it's the closest to it. Where you can kind of do whatever you want. Just don't fucking kill anyone, Like, don't kill anyone. Don't do anything awful.
Yeah. Well, what I'm basically saying is that it's a threat of violence and force for you to comply.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if the citizens don't have any way to combat, their government or a force which has overwhelming more power than them.
Yeah.
Well, you're a sitting duck, right?
Yeah, and that's what's so great about the Second Amendment that I don't think people understand. And it sounds stupid when you look at it briefly, but would you think about it, like the Second Amendment was created to prevent tyranny, like from the government becoming too powerful and too dangerous.
Right.
That's why, dude. That's why it's the best chance or best solution to prevent the government from becoming too big and too powerful.
Correct.
Because they know that most everyone has a gun, like an armed militia, I guess you could say.
Yeah, well, it's crazy to me that
they won't try and take
the argument
from
people who do not like guns. They say that we need to be like everyone else. We need to be like Europe. We need to be like Australia.
Hell no.
You need to understand that this nation was created
by leaving Europe.
Well, not only leaving Europe, but because of gun control.
Yeah.
I mean, if the guns were not going to be confiscated in Lexington and Concord from the colonists there would have been no revolution.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like the last and final straw. Hey, no.
Yeah.
You will not take our firearms.
Yeah.
You will not force us to comply.
Yeah.
And so it drives me crazy that so many people are against the right to bear arms when it's It's intrinsically tied to the very
The
beginning, the
beginning
DNA,
of this country.
everything
Yeah.
of this nation.
Oh, yeah.
And it's sad to me because the United States is such a successful country. It's the greatest thing that has ever existed in humanity. And I mean, people have the most freedoms here.
Yep.
Even though everyone likes to tell you otherwise, because they basically they're trying to
Because they
trying
don't
to
get
brainwash.
it.
Well, they're trying to brainwash people to hate America and to hate individual rights, hate individual liberty, hate responsibility,
being ashamed of being white and a white male. You're a white male,
Sure,
so you're privileged and
right,
you just
right.
you should be ashamed.
Because this nation was largely
what?
built by white males.
Yeah.
Ironically.
yeah, it's funny.
And well, it's just sad to me because it's like the United States was great and awesome and a great place because it wasn't like everywhere else. But they want us to be like everyone else.
yeah,
And I'm like, it's almost like you're trying to degrade or de-evolve something that was just vastly a superior way of living,
Yeah.
a better system.
Yeah.
It's like you want us to go back, not forward.
I know. Yeah,
And it just drives me crazy with all of that. So
Something interesting that I've been pondering over the weekend, and I'm not an ultra religious person. I have my base foundation of religion, but I don't generally go to church very often. But something that kind of struck a chord with me over the weekend was the thought of kind of in alignment with the period where the country started to fall. Again, I hate to say it, but I feel like it's in combination, or at least at the same coincidence, where we started putting religion second in life.
Yes.
Again,
Well-
I'm not advocating and saying that everybody needs to be religious, but if you
everyone
look at it,
needs to have those underlying morals.
yeah,
and,
exactly. And if you look
good
at it, like
behavior.
if you look at how the country was leading up to the point where we can probably argue where the country started to decline, is when we started making it to where church was no longer really important in our lives.
Yeah, and I would say that decline started around the 50s and 60s.
Right, and that's when you started seeing people getting away from the church. And again,
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
not saying everybody has to go to church, but still, if you look at it, that's kind of where it started to happen.
Yeah.
I was reading a book over the weekend.
What?
I know,
You were reading a book.
I
Who
know.
the hell are you?
dude. So, and it was a book. It's called, and I got to like chapter 3 because I have the attention span of a squirrel. But it was written by a guy who was in the Marines for 15 years. He ended up getting out as I think he was a colonel when he got out.
What was his name, by the way?
God,
If you don't remember, it's okay.
come back to
Tell me later.
But the book is called Broken Arrow, and it's basically talking about surprise! It's talking about the downfall of our country and why and where it started and how it started, and that's kind of where I started getting this thought process in my head. I was like, whoa, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just because it talks about as the country started to decline, that's kind of where it started.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me how that kind of works.
Well, I think it's every man and woman. You need to have
They're the
principles.
same, though, by the way.
Yeah, we'll get into that
Yeah,
later.
biologically they're
There's no
identical.
difference between
there's-
male or female.
That is yes. That is a
I'm
very
gender
long
fluid.
conversation. Well,
Whatever the fuck that means.
back to what I'm saying is that you need to have a set of principles and morals to live by in your life. You need to stand for something.
Meaning.
And
Meaning.
when you don't really believe in anything, well, the saying is if you don't believe in anything or stand for anything, you'll fall for anything.
Yeah.
And I think we kind of went against all those Christian-based principles.
Yeah.
That kind of is what really was the foundation largely of the United States. Now I know a lot of people say, and this annoys the crap out of me. A lot of people say, well, the United States believes in the separation of church and state, so therefore the United States is not a Christian nation. Well, if you overwhelmingly look at the Founding Fathers, the Federalist Papers,
Yeah.
and what they said, they were overwhelmingly Christians, the vast majority of them.
Oh, yeah.
Now I think that they would not agree with a state-enforced religion on someone.
Hell no. No. Well, there's
that's why
freedom
we
of
believe-
religion.
freedom
No,
of
and again,
religion,
that's
right.
another reason why they left. Europe was because of the oppression of the church in Europe.
Yes.
So yeah, they were based on Christian foundations, but they weren't in support of church and state because they didn't want the
Right.
church
Yeah,
to
it's
overpower the
funny
state.
how that works. They agreed that like most of us are Christian, but we're not going to force it down your throat.
Right.
Right.
Right. Freedom.
You have freedom of religion. That's in
Right.
the freaking that's in the Constitution. But we're not going to force it down your throat. You do you.
Right, right.
You believe whatever you want to believe
You
in.
believe-
But most of us, have the fundamental basis of the Christian morals and meaningful
These-
values in our lives.
Yeah, the white Judeo-Christian principles are largely what not our Bill of Rights, the English Bill of Rights in England, which is what was created in England, and then we modeled ours, but approved upon through our Bill of Rights versus the English Bill of Rights. So what I'm basically saying is that we kind of had these moral codes, which kind of taught you, okay, hey, like, okay, don't steal from others, do not be an adulterer. Family's very important.
Yeah.
Men and women have these specific roles that we use because it's not some oppressive
Because they're
thing.
actually different.
It's because we actually we are
biologically different.
We are hardwired to help each other.
Yes.
And we have certain things that others can't.
Exactly.
Like men have certain qualities that women just will never have.
Yes.
And women have qualities that men will never have. And those are things that a lot of us, we it's ironically think are terrible now.
Yeah.
But they're the things that people understood that is what worked in the past.
Yeah.
A lot of people we kind of have in the modern world we kind of have this belief that just because it's modern and because we have iPhones and because we have all this technology that somehow we are these morally superior beings compared to those in the past.
Yeah, you don't need morals.
But you need to understand that traditional values, their traditional values is because they worked. That's the reason why they are maintained. And like human beings, we've had a lot of trial and error of bad ideas.
Oh, yeah.
And so like we tried things out, certain things that work and certain things that don't. But the things that do work, well, we want to pass it on to the next generation because we don't want them to learn from we want them to learn from our mistakes and to not repeat the same mistakes. That'd be insanity, right? And so it's just the Christian base, and you have to think about, like, look at society today. What are our morals? What do we stand for now? We don't really stand for anything. I mean, we're like, it's like sand.
Unfortunately, we as a country, I would say right now, we're political. We stand for political correctness, and we stand for trans rights.
Yeah, it's just feelings and things that make us feel good.
Yeah,
that's largely what we stand for. We don't stand for
safe spaces.
We don't stand for truth. We don't stand for hard truths. We don't stand for
evidence.
Evidence. We don't stand for the things that are facts and things that disprove a lot of these
ridiculous ideas.
These ridiculous ideas that don't really stand weight to reality or history or anything like that. But we just continue to think that we are so superior to those in the past. And it's actually interesting because at one point, I wouldn't say I agreed with that. I never did. But I was kind of neutral about it. And then I think
very in high school, you were very, would you call him a liberal in high school?
No, that's what he talked about earlier. It was libertarian.
I was always more libertarian.
Yeah,
so this is interesting, though. So actually, I grew up Mormon.
So are we.
Okay. So, or LDS, excuse me. I know that would, they're trying to move away from the word Mormon now.
Is that limb tick syndrome?
That's what LDS stood for. What is that? What is there? Another
it's
LDS?
Actually LSD, but we just switched the D to an S, so therefore it would not be.
Damn, that's why he's so weird.
That makes perfect sense.
But in the LDS church, we had those Christian-based principles of.
What does that stand for?
So it stands for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Okay, right.
And
yes.
Well, so actually, I would not be who I don't think we're in today because that was the basis of a lot of my morality. It was the basis of a lot of what I believed was because of the background of my religion. Obviously, when you're a kid, you're like a sponge and you just kind of you're influenced by everything in your environment.
Yeah.
But so it was a very patriarchal church. I mean, well, Christianity is already it's a very patriarchal religion. Where men had these certain roles, women had these certain roles, and you had these certain principles and morals that if you went against, you would either destroy yourself, hurt others. You would, if you needed structure in life when you were young. That's essentially what the Bible really is saying. Is there are these certain morals and principles and things that
honor your father and mother.
Honor your father and mother. Care, sacrifice for other people, but don't tolerate bad behavior. Don't tolerate degeneracy through excessive drinking, cursing, smoking, sex, and all these things. And
Anything considered addictive, correct?
yes, anything is considered addictive.
Yeah.
And it's funny
Was
because
there? Sorry to interrupt you, but was there a time where you didn't drink caffeine?
oh yeah,
I was gonna say I thought there was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And now you're a caffeine fiend.
Yeah, I was gonna say
right.
We all are.
drinking a bang over here. You know.
Hey man.
Well, it was so
Red Bull's good. It's
all-
good for your soul.
Like those principles, it's the Christian-based principles. Those are really appalling to people because really it's just people don't want
mean
restriction
offensive?
on their life. Yeah. Well, they don't like it because they want to be able to have
Then don't
fun and do whatever they
participate.
want, whenever they want, however they want. But they're there to benefit your life. It's because
don't participate.
well, there's
If you don't want to.
There's certain things that people can do that can destroy you.
Mm-hmm.
Like you might have a very addictive personality, and let's say you have some alcohol. Alcohol didn't kill anyone, but let's say you become an alcoholic, and that can destroy your life. Or you become addicted to too much sex.
To heroin?
You can get someone pregnant, or you can get disease. That can be bad. It's all about restriction. And the thing is that you need to understand that when you delay gratification, your society will improve.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you have a society which is just chasing pleasure all the time, you're not going to have the cohesion of families. You're not going to use that to improve your society.
Yeah.
It's going to devolve into this hedonistic,
Dude, it's
selfish,
it's
chaos.
funny. It's funny you bring that up. Quick tangent, real quick. I was telling Nick, I think I told you, that I've been watching a show. I started this TV show, and that's very unlike me. You guys know this.
God, and I just started reading a book. What is wrong with us?
What the hell is happening to us? And the show is called Altered Carbon. And that is a big, there's a big presence of that in that show because it's set so well into the future, like hundreds of years into the future. And everyone's just instant gratification is all there. It's easily accessible. It's cheap. It's all right in front of you. Advertise. It's all being thrown in your face now. You can have sex and all this easily accessible drugs, and it's all right there. All you gotta do is just take it. It's crazy how much how big of a role that plays in that show because it's all there. It's like all your primal all the stuff you're trying to be a good person and you're trying not to do all the things you probably shouldn't do and you probably shouldn't do, but it's all there. It's all right in front of you and it's incredibly easy to get. All you do is just take it. Participate.
Right. And it's just the problem is that just look at history. History vindicates this. What societies do you know that are very successful or that basically were functioning and had technological superiority and cultural superiority, all these things? They were all largely like Rome or Greece or classical Europe. They all had these principles of basically they were at the height of their powers. They were largely the most quote unquote conservative today, traditional. They abided by these rules and these laws because basically. I can go on a rant about these things, but just because
go in it.
Okay.
Well,
That's what we're here for.
It kind of takes a lot. You have to understand the broad picture to understand the very specific
All right,
picture.
start it up, man.
Well,
Get her done.
Well, basically, okay. So a lot of people, let's say a lot of people, like today, a lot of people are very atheistic, and it's because people say there's no evidence of God. There's no evidence of these things, and so therefore, why believe in it? It's very stupid. Well, you can look at conservative-based principles through an atheistic lens.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people are like, okay, if you were to ask a typical Christian, they're like, okay, so, the specific whoever would say, okay, you should not have sex before marriage, right? Mm-hmm. And you ask him why, and he would say, well, in the Bible it says that it's a sin, you breaking the law of chastity, and having sex is something very, very wrong, and I would be punished for it.
Yeah,
it's a sin. So that's the Christian God-like way of looking at it. Versus if you look at it through the atheistic way, well, you can break that down. You can say, okay,
in a logical, non-religion based argument.
Yes. So what happens if you have sex before marriage? Well, if you have a lot of sexual partners, that can greatly inhibit, like, let's say women, their ability to pair bond with a mate in the future. Or
Because it can also harm you physically.
it can also harm you physically, correct? Or you can end up being
Or
a single
mentally.
mom. Or you can end up being a single mom.
Yeah.
Like, these things
is
are not conducive
glorified
to
now.
having functional families if society goes that route. And that's all based upon biology. Or you could say, I guess it's more of like, okay, so why on earth would you believe in individual rights? Well, I mean, the Christian religion says that, okay, we're all children of God. Therefore, the individual is extremely important. If the individual is important to Jesus Christ, then the rights of the individual should be something that society, the government, or quote unquote unalienable rights that all human beings should intrinsically have, right? That's the God way of advocating for, or the Christian way of advocating for individual rights.
Yeah.
Well, then you could say through the atheistic lens, well, individual rights work the best because it gives someone freedom to want to pursue their own goals. It gives them the freedom to want to innovate, to create, to find a need to improve society, or improve their family, or improve themselves, therefore improving society. So you don't have to always look at it through the God lens or the Christian-based lens if you're an atheist. It's just a more, if you look at it through a more scientific overall view, these things make sense. They make logical sense as to why they are superior.
Well, isn't that why the country was correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that the foundation of our documentation for this country is like the pursuit of life, liberty, or was it the pursuit of life, liberty,
Pursuit of happiness.
pursuit of happiness, right? Isn't that the kind of the combination between the separation of church and state is, the unalienable rights you deserve.
You do
Yes,
it makes
yes.
you happy.
But you also get the combination of pursuit of happiness, right, which is more individualistic. So that way it's not quite controlled by church.
Exactly. Correct. Yes, exactly.
The pursuit of happiness.
Well, the unalienable rights basically, at least according to the founding fathers, were that you have inherent rights that the government has to recognize. There are not rights that are given to you by government. You're
born with them.
You are a sanctioned human being, or sentient, human being, and you have these basic individual liberties that all men should acknowledge.
Yeah.
They don't come from the government. Okay, the government doesn't. You have to remember, the government doesn't produce anything. The government only enforces. Well, it really shouldn't enforce. Really, it should act as a neutral party in society. But sadly, generally tends to corrupt because of the nature of power and the flaws of human beings and all of these things.
Yeah.
But that's the reason why individual rights are so important to a free society. Because if you don't have that, well, then it all comes from basically different hierarchies within your society, or different power structures, or anyone who wants to enforce their will over you. They can. It's free game. As long as they can kill you, or they can use the threat of force against you.
Yeah.
And so
That's where the gun thing comes into play.
yeah, right. That's where the whole gun thing comes into play. So what I'm basically saying is that in the past we had a society which basically we put principle over pleasure. We put morality over fun and all of these things. And so to most people, they're like, man, that sounds so
Or
restrictive.
the other way around, right?
That sounds so boring.
Or fun before morality.
Or should be fun before morality.
Yeah.
Yes. And so it's sad because it's without those principles, it kind of unravels
very quickly.
society very quickly.
Yes.
It destroys families because families won't be formed.
Because the single mother thing, Nick.
Yeah.
You were telling me about this. The whole. It's so glorified now. It's very empowering to be a single mother.
Right.
And for good reason, right? So if you look at the reason why recently over the years being a single mother is so empowering is because of the government propaganda. I mean, if you think about it, when women who are single are empowered, and let's say they're empowered through government welfare, they're basically getting under control over their government. The government has control over them, and then now
Yeah,
the government
because
is just that much bigger.
Correct.
So that again, it's all. I would argue it's all political propaganda.
Hooked on the governmental teat.
That's why it's praised among
Oh yeah.
the lower class, or whoever you might argue, because again, they're all pawns to the government at this point. Now they're controlled by government welfare checks, or they're controlled by the government with healthcare because it's too expensive to afford.
And then
Right.
they try and get them to believe that this is the solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big government.
Big government will
Provide
we'll
for
take
everyone.
we'll take
It'll
care of you.
Yeah, it'll provide for everyone. It'll be great.
Well,
I mean,
so-
without going full blown MGTOW, I'd probably argue if you if you take away the man,
yeah.
yeah,
If you
Then-
replace
then-
men with the government, which is what women largely did.
sounds like terrible. That
Well,
sounds like a terrible thing.
So you need so
welcome
it,
to America now.
so it's not just political propaganda. It's part political, part propaganda, and it's part biology. Okay, so a patriarchal society where men and women have certain roles which are largely enforced based upon gender, which is something that we just basically threw out. Basically, women helped to take care and rear the children. Men went out and worked. Men made a lot more money because
On
the
average,
labor force was a lot smaller. And, men came home and they had a sense of purpose and duty to their family, and they put their family before the state.
yeah.
And so did women. Well, the reality is it's not just feminism is essentially the female imperative put into a political form.
Yeah.
That's largely what feminism is. You have to remember that women largely prioritize, because of their biology, women largely prioritize safety over freedom. You have to think about that. They
Which is why
will defer.
women usually, as a whole, as a gender,
Yes.
they usually lean more left.
Yes.
Compared
yes.
to males.
Compared to males, yes. And it just makes sense because
Yeah, they're the mothers.
yes, exactly. They're the mothers. They want to feel safe. They want to feel secure. They want a good environment for children, or
Yeah.
they do not take risk nearly as much as men do. And
Yeah.
really, after World War II, well, before that was really first wave feminism, when females just wanted the right to vote. Well, a lot of the world had become more of a safer place, and so the roles of men weren't needed necessarily as much. And this is accelerated really because of technology and because of all the things that men have created for society, ironically, which is the very thing that women tend to hate. They're like, I hate men, but then the men also created, all the infrastructure, electricity, essentially everything, build everything.
Yeah.
And let's tell them that they're terrible and
Invent
somehow
the new
society's going to be
stuff.
better. But basically, after World War II, the baby boomer, there was natural patriarchal formation because a lot of men had died. Therefore, men were a lot more scarce compared to women. So women naturally competed more for men. They competed more for men's favor until the end of the Cold War, which I'd say until the 60s, when the sexualization of society began to really start taking off through the Woodstock, the hippie movement, all of those things, and the sexual liberation of women. That hey, having sex whenever you want, however you want, is this liberating, awesome thing, and that men make all this money and all these in the wage gap myth and all of these things that kind of have been metastasized way farther than I would have ever guessed. Well, after the Soviet Union fell and the Cold War fell, well, the threat of violence and the threat of an impending foe on America fell. And a lot of women, I think, when there is no outside force or outside enemy in society, women, they don't want the chains of their gender role. They want to be free. And in the past, women needed men because men defended them and protected them and fought the wars. And when that didn't become as much of an important aspect of society anymore, the women kind of almost resented the men in a weird way because they basically wanted all the freedoms that quote unquote men's gender role
Yeah,
had.
because it's not equal and stuff.
Right. And so really women basically rebelled against their gender role of being moms, of being stay-at-home women, about having the children. So the birth rate plummeted, while also still expecting men to be their traditional gender role, of still be able to make the money.
You know, we're just gonna go sit at home.
Yeah,
I want to sit at home and do nothing while you go out and work.
Exactly.
Have fun with that.
Well, and then you have to think about
Try
like
being an electrician or a plumber.
Yeah.
They
Well,
don't
so
wanna fucking
the
do
Western world, their population, specifically the white population, began just to plummet. And then you have to think about it. Like a lot of these women who value feminism and all that, they're like, okay, well, being married is oppressive, or having children is this oppressive thing. So they end up basically partying, having sex 24/7 all the way throughout their 20s and sometimes even 30s.
It's freeing.
It's freeing. It's fun.
Yeah.
It sells this idea that
it's fun.
That it's gonna
empowering.
It's gonna empower you.
Oh,
yeah.
Dude, speaking of that, I don't know if I can't remember how recent it was, but it was a video of Ben Shapiro, and it was like he was kind of like poking fun at that whole idea of the just sex with anyone whenever you want.
Whenever you want, yep.
It's so empowering.
Yep.
But when you kind of look, he was kind of making fun of the porn industry, where it's like, if you ever seen a woman in a porn video, yeah, it's real empowering.
It's real empowering. Yeah.
like it's so funny. Like how did we convince people that this was empowering?
Yeah.
What?
Well, and then women are if you look at the happiness index, women are getting more and more unhappy.
That's what feminism does to you.
Because it robs you of the most important thing in your life, which is family. It robs you of being a wife. It robs you of being a mom.
Yeah.
It brainwashes you into thinking that those things are not important, and then when you're single in 40s and you have like 20 cats, you're like, I blew it. Yeah. I ruined that very important aspect of what it means to be a woman. And the thing is that
the whole family thing is actually kind of cool.
And all these women that are all tatted up, partying, doing all these crazy things.
They're going to hit a wall. You think they're going to hit a wall?
Yeah, they will hit a wall.
Yeah.
There is that concept, and I can get into that later.
They're going to be like, oh shit, I did it wrong.
Exactly. And their biology is also to be a mom, to want to have children. They still want
it or not.
They've just been taught that to basically, they've been brainwashed.
They've been oppressed by white males
into going against their very own biology.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? Women have it really good in this country, believe it or not.
Oh yeah.
Because I get that there are other countries that women are treated like absolute garbage, and it's a shame.
Right.
But it's not. They don't believe in the Western value or the Western.
Yeah,
the traditional Western values.
Think about it.
Anyways.
Think about all the guys. If there's any guys listening to this, you know how great it would be if I could just stay at home, take care of my kids, watch some TV, be like, hey son, how about we watch Predator today? We watch. How about let's watch Terminator today?
Hypocritical.
And your mom and mom's gonna go out and work and come back and bring home the bacon.
You know what? I'd call you kind of a pussy.
Right. But I mean,
gonna be honest.
I mean, like, is that this ultra oppressive thing?
No, and I get that there are stay-at-home dads. Like I get that, but I'm saying, like, when you look at biology as a whole, there are obviously clearly gender roles when people don't want to admit that. But what I was going to say is, there's so many, like, it's so great. Regardless of what the news will tell you, it's pretty freaking great being a woman. I'm not speaking from experience because I'm not a woman.
Well, I'm basically...
but no, seriously, like...
You could be. All you have to do is identify as it.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. It's very easy to become a woman in this country. But, I saw this post off one of these pages I follow on Instagram, and it's like, the International Men's Day, which could be, taken very offensively by some people, but if you're listening, I don't care. There's men constitute 76% of suicides. They can constitute 85% of homeless people. 70% of homicides. They're victims of most violent crimes. Victims of 40% of domestic abuse. Serve 64% longer prison sentences. 92 of deaths are all in the. That's a big one.
Yes,
where it's
big
like
one.
All the dangerous jobs, they're all men.
Yep.
All of them. It's crazy that, like, women want to bitch. Again, I'm all for, like, the gender roles. Like, if you all the feminist retards who, yes, they're retarded. I can't. By the way, I can't believe that you can't say that on the radio now.
I know.
It's crazy.
It's political. It's the elimination of speech.
it's insane. Like women want to bitch about that. Not all women, just the retarded left leaning feminist retards. They all want to bitch about how women are oppressed, but all of those statistics I just laid out, it's like, are you kidding me? You've got it so well.
I know.
You really think
Yep.
it's that bad? Go live in fucking Iraq or
Yep.
somewhere that's like,
Yep.
I mean, you are literally like on the bottom of the totem pole if
Yeah,
you are
yeah,
in like
yeah.
Iraq
Women-
or some of those
women-
crazy ass Middle Eastern countries.
So here's two things that throw my little 2 cents in it. Two
Sorry,
things.
gosh,
So
you're getting me so worked.
no, you're good. So here's the idea, right? So one thing that confuses me, right? So let's say you're a feminist, right? And
Hey, don't. That's offensive.
well, fuck them. I don't care. It's fine. So anyway, so let's put yourself in the shoes of a feminist. God, I know.
What a god awful place.
Let's just take a moment and realize how
How great this country is.
how
Or was.
how little sense it makes to be a feminist, right? So
right.
I would say that generally most feminists want to allow immigration.
Yeah.
Right, because feminists think emotionally, they don't think logically.
Right.
So they want to bring all these immigrants into the country, and I'm not saying you
screw
can't have
this-
immigrants in the country as long as they assimilate, right? As long as they
Right.
integrate into our society.
Legally and willing to accept our values.
Correct. Don't come
The
into
real
our,
American
like,
values.
If we go to a country, they're going to expect us to learn their values and the way
Oh,
that they
yeah.
run.
It's
But here
crazy.
it's not.
Yeah. It's funny
So-
how that works.
They want to bring in a lot of people from the Middle East. How ass backwards is that when they want to bring in people from the Middle
Right?
East who treat them second class?
Oh yeah.
100%.
Right.
Oh yeah.
That makes no sense to me.
Oh,
And-
yeah.
And again, it just proves to a point that they think emotionally and not logically,
Yeah.
right?
Like you clearly haven't thought
we
this
have to
all
bring
the way
everybody in.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, so you're bringing the people in who want to treat you second class. Well, you know,
through. I haven't gotten that far.
yeah, I haven't thought that. My emotions don't go that far.
Yeah.
But see, this is
And here's the other thing that I have to talk about really quick,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
for a lot of people, these are statistics. They're facts. They're truth. 100%.
yeah.
We all understand that there's a such thing as anecdotal evidence, right? And for those who don't know what anecdotal evidence is, it's basically like you're experiencing something that's not a part of the norm, not part of
Yeah.
statistics, right?
You have
like
a- you have a
we've all
certain
come across
unique
women
situation.
that who are strong and independent and believe, whatever they want to believe, and they make a good living off of it, and they're happy again.
Yeah,
but that's
like
anecdotal
women who are
evidence.
Doctors, like that's
Yeah.
I mean, well, like
Right.
I'm not gonna say that's not normal, but it's like they're actually doing something, very contributing well to society.
Well, and we have to preface,
Instead of-
right? So
instead
there's
of-
two different things, right? There's exceptions, and then there's anecdotal evidence.
Yeah.
Yes.
The definition of an what did I just say?
Anecdotal evidence.
So there's anecdotal, and then there's the exception. So the definition of an exception is an exception, right?
Yeah.
It's not part of the
Not
general
normal.
statistics, right? Then there's anecdotal, which is a personal experience.
Yeah.
Anecdotal is very personal, so
Yeah.
it's even smaller than an exception because it's down to what one person experienced
Mm-hmm.
to another. Well, I have one black friend, so I'm not racist. So that's anecdotal, basically.
Right.
So again, we're not saying we're not aware of the exceptions. We're not saying we're not aware of the anecdotal
Yeah, I'm
evidence.
just saying as
we're
a
speaking.
whole.
We're speaking as a whole. We're
generic-
speaking statistically.
Yeah.
Like we're
Yes.
speaking generally.
yeah, we're speaking very generic, or yes.
However,
generically.
I'll get off my liberal soapbox. It just happens to be that facts and statistics and the way we talk generally is correct.
yeah,
Yes.
Facts
it's
are
just
facts.
they're hard truths.
they're not. Yeah, they're not emotions, and
Yep.
they don't dictate.
That's why if you look at the difference between a red pill and a blue pill, you'd see that the red pill is really, really big and hard to swallow, and the blue pill is really, really easy.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
tastes like bubble gum. Or
Yeah, the blue
something.
pill is, the
Yeah.
blue pill's, it's a suppository, right? Like it tastes like candy, but you got to stick it in your ass and it feels great. Red pill is really fucking hard to take, and that's why not very many people take
Yeah.
it, right? I mean, it's-
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
and then
it tastes terrible.
Oh,
and then
yeah,
you
it's
have to stretch
god-awful.
yourself to just get on it.
this isn't the one we're going in the oral cavity, not the other one, right?
the suppository goes in the butt, in the butt.
I don't want to hear that and stretching in the same sentence. Also,
Queer.
whoa, it's not very nice.
I don't care.
I don't either. Yeah, I mean,
If you notice, I've started to dwindle on the whole. Hey, Connor, remember it's 2018. Like,
yeah, you're just like I know, and I don't care. I still call this guy right across from me the handsome. He's brown. He's the brown guy. I'm gonna call him the brown guy.
oh yeah, he's the brown guy.
And what's funny is like I'll actually like say that
And
to
the
some-
medic.
Yeah, he's the medic. He's
our anecdotal evidence.
He's important. We need him.
he's the exception. He's our anecdotal evidence,
right,
and he's our
right.
God-given leader.
We all have this thing about us in our friends group that
I will die for you, sir.
That we make that we intentionally make fun of in front of other people just to be like, hey, I'm joking, and he obviously doesn't care. Like, that's the
I know.
brown word,
Yeah,
nix
we
the
just-
queer.
we just troll
like,
each other.
Like,
Yep.
and or like, I don't know, like we, one of our friends that's, also not white. He's got a little bit of Middle Eastern in him, does he now?
Yes, yes.
And he's the Alul Akbar guy.
Yeah.
Like he's the guy with the rag on his head, or
He'll shield us from the Islamic invasion. He'll keep us
like we're
underground.
just joking. That's a whole nother thing that I want to get into. I don't know about now, but it's like, I honestly think, because I am so, and I just told my dad this the other day. I'm like, I'm clearly anti-political correctness. I
Right.
honestly think the world would be such a better place if we all just stopped being so goddamn sensitive and just made awful jokes with one another. Because guess
Right,
what? It's
right.
funny. Stereotypes are stereotypes, and who cares? Like,
Yep.
just we're still civil to. You can be civil to one another and poke fun at each other's, like, because every race has something bad about them.
Yeah. Well, but
Believe it or not.
the problem is those it's a shame. It'll never
Every type of
happen
people.
because there's too much of a vested interest in political
I
correctness.
know, and I
It's
hate
because
it.
it's
I
because
absolutely hate it.
It's basically it's a lie, or it's an idea that someone conjured up to basically get leverage over someone else.
It's anti-free
and,
speech.
and defining something as not being able to be talked about, or
Yeah.
that's wrong think, or you can't say that because it's politically incorrect, which is basically them saying,
I'm instantly
I
out.
want to remove that from the conversation
yeah.
because that disproves my point.
Yeah.
That's all that political correctness really
Yeah.
means.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, you said the word offensive or that's
Right,
not politically correct. I no longer am interested in anything
Correct.
you
Yeah,
have to say.
it's a lazy way of basically saying like, okay, your argument is correct and right, but because I don't accept that as true, even though it is, that's not politically
That's
correct.
hate
So
speech.
therefore,
It's
you have to
hate
throw the
speech.
whole thing out.
Oh my god.
It's kind of like the lazy trying to argue against
Oh, yeah.
the proficient or someone who understands the facts
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the reasoning behind it.
And I swear to God, I hate the term hate speech. Oh, it gives me a
Right.
incredible headache.
there is
Just
a-
like racist, bigot, homophobe, all of that shit. Seriously, every time I hear those words, no, it's like it's really bad. Believe it or not, these things like calling everyone like you're a racist, you're a homophobe, you're sexist. All of that has consequences. Believe
Right.
it or not,
Right.
because that's like you're like Charlie Kirk was saying, and this is kind of, I'm getting off on another tangent, but whatever. Like when you call someone a Nazi or like that cheapens the evil of
Right.
Hitler and the Holocaust.
Well, it's because it's
You're
like
making it more normal.
Yes.
Like you're
Yes.
making racist actually look not that bad. Like,
Right.
like I hear the word racist or homophobe or sexist or whatever, and I'm just like, I don't even know what that means anymore. Like, what?
well, it's like the boy.
That's
it's
cool.
it-
Yeah, I guess I'm a racist. Cool, whatever.
It's like the boy who cried wolf
Yeah.
too many times.
Yeah.
And I mean, like saying, "Oh, you're a Nazi." It doesn't even really hold weight anymore.
yeah, I'm like, oh
or
yeah,
you're a
cool,
racist.
whatever.
It doesn't really
I-
hold weight
instantly, I just again, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I'm a racist. Cool, I no longer have
Well-
anything. Can you prove it? Can you tell me why? Like, what am I actually doing that makes me a racist or whatever?
Well-
and by the way, there's humor in there.
Like Joseph Goebbels, he was the head propagandist during the Nazi reign. He basically said in a quote, I don't remember the exact quote, but he says, "Always accuse those of that which you are guilty."
yes,
And that is exactly
Yes.
what the left has done. They are incredibly racist. They think only along racist and identitarian lines
Yeah.
or racial lines.
because you want to talk for someone else.
Yes.
Like, yeah, that's racist.
like
that's racist against these people.
They are too dumb to think for themselves. Therefore, I need to speak for them.
Oh yeah,
and
right?
I need to
Like that's racist
get the
against
bad
black
guy.
people.
Well,
I'm white though, by the
yeah,
way.
it's
what?
like divide and conquer though.
Yeah.
That's all that it really is. It's let's break things down into different subgroups and
Yeah.
basically use each other against each other while I gain more power for myself through the chaos because they will run to me for you
Yeah.
know the stability or whatever.
I know everything.
It's a shame. It's a shame because the reality is that if you know basically the truth is the truth. The truth is unbiased.
Yeah.
There is no such thing as your truth or my truth. There's the truth,
and that's it.
and my opinions on the truth. Okay,
Correct,
that's
yeah.
the difference. That's not your truth. That is your opinions on the truth. And when you argue the truth, well, the truth works in reality. It is what makes rational sense. The problem is that there are always going to be groups that are always going to want what others have.
Oh yeah.
There always will be someone who's selfish. There will always be someone who wants to seek power through ignorance or laziness or stupidity. Someone will always try to exploit someone else for their own gain. Mm-hmm. And largely that is what has happened in society. And that's the reason why it's a shame, because there's so many people that vote for socialism, that vote for the government, which it's like they're like literally voting and begging for their own chains, but they don't notice it.
No, yeah, it's
Because
disguised as
it's disguised
we're going
as
to give you everything.
It's
we're
disguised
going to give you the world.
Yes.
when
It's like it's like in 300.
actually not gonna
it's like in
happen.
300, where like the little imp guy like goes over to like what's his name, Xerxes, and he's like, I'll give you power, I'll give you position, you can have
Let me
it
guess.
all.
I've never seen
Like,
it, but let me guess. He dies.
Well, he betrays,
Or he gets
actually
screwed
ends up,
over in some way.
Yeah, he betrays the Spartans, and basically he's like, "What have I done?" After they all die, and I'm, So basically, that's kind of what the reality is that America was built upon individualism. It was built upon individual rights.
Yes.
It was
Freedom.
built. It was built upon limited government. It was largely built by white men. Almost entirely
Imagine
by
that.
white men,
Imagine that.
and it was a patriarchal society. These are all the things that the modern day lefty hates.
Yeah, they all hate. They're all
wants
against.
to eradicate from society.
It's scary.
and it's hilarious because these are the people that say, "I am the Americans. I am pro-America."
Yeah.
No, you're not.
But
you're
we want,
absolutely opposite.
free. Well, we want free healthcare and free education and free this and that, free that. and
Yeah.
free-
Well, then you ask me like, okay, how are you going to pay for all that?
Yeah,
And
like,
chirp,
guess what?
chirp,
that
chirp,
money,
chirp.
Yeah,
Okay.
that money has to come from somewhere.
Right. So, but what I'm basically saying is that you need to the only way you can fix the problem is you have to understand the problem. You have to understand how we got where we got.
Yeah.
That's why I was saying back to the whole religious morals. We had religious principles and morals, which largely helped form more cohesive societies because of or more cohesive communities, because we had better family formation. We stood for things. We wanted to stand for a bigger cause than us, which was related to freedom and sovereignty and the right for people to fail and succeed on their own terms. And we quickly abandoned all that. And we've also largely, there's so many problems. It's not just the philosophical. It's the racial now because of the lack of the failure of multiculturalism, which it is an abject failure.
Yeah.
In Europe and in the United States and basically almost anywhere it's been tried.
Yes.
It's not because of
It's not because of racism.
It's not because of
because that's just the way it is.
Well, it's just human beings are tribalistic.
Yes,
and they have
exactly.
an in-group bias.
Yes, and they don't want to. People don't want to hear that.
People don't want to hear that.
People don't want to hear that. The whole diversity. We got to have one of everyone.
Right.
In this society.
Right. Correct.
In order for it to be great.
Well, it's funny because
not really.
The world is very diverse. The world has how many countries are there in the world? It's like 100,
too many,
200 something, 190 something different countries. So the world is a very diverse place.
Clearly, yes.
But
there are different countries.
It's actually funny because the left is like, well, no, we want everyone to come to and integrate
together and
create
be
this
diverse,
this very
super melting
bland
pot of
monoculture, monoracial.
That's a terrible idea.
Nothing.
By the way.
That's actually the very opposite of diversity. That's not very pro diversity, but it also only exists. You have to remember this. This idea of incessant multiculturalism only is predominantly in white countries. This doesn't exist anywhere else aside from...
Is that because of white guilt?
Yes. Well, you have to understand that largely white nations are the most successful nations. Tell me what nations, what group... this is a generalization, guys.
Yeah.
This is not... America is largely the most successful, but Europe is still pretty nice, or had a lot of really good ideas. Sadly, they're on the down decline. Same with Australia and all that.
Oh God.
But
yes.
largely, those are the countries that where most of the immigrants try to get into.
Yeah. Let me.
They're hopping gates, starving, risking death and all these things to get into these very oppressive countries, which is hilarious because if they were that oppressive, why would they be running in there?
Yeah. Why are people coming here and wanting to get into this country illegally if it's so racist?
Correct.
Correct. Awful.
But it's because the wealth and the success of the West it's the best. The West is the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reality is that if they can't beat someone through force, if they can't create what someone can create,
they'll brainwash you.
If they can't replicate or improve upon what someone else has, well, the only way that they can get the success, the wealth, is through that country, those people. They have to use them against themselves. They basically have to tell them that you're evil.
Yeah.
You're this
Make you feel awful.
original sin of being white and all these things, because they basically brainwash you into getting you to allow them into their home, to get on welfare, get jobs that would go to your children, but they want for themselves, the resources, the infrastructure, all these things. And it's sad because this has never, ever worked. This has never, ever happened. There's never been any basis to believe that someone from Somalia with absolutely zero education can come to America or come to
do really
Germany,
well.
wherever.
Again, we're talking generic.
We're talking generic here. So this
obviously this has happened.
Yes. Okay, so let me preface this. Hold on. Let me preface this. So what we were saying in the past is that we are speaking in generalities here.
Yes.
Of course, there are always exceptions to the rule. That doesn't disprove the rule.
But largely the idea behind these people coming from other incredibly different, like way removed type of countries that are not nowhere near like this country.
Right.
They can't just come here and expect to
get the exact same result of a native German or a native Dutch or
someone that's been here
or someone that yes, correct.
Someone that natively lives here.
Correct.
Was born here.
And it's a shame because these are hard truths that a lot of people
don't want to acknowledge.
This is very uncomfortable for a lot of people because all of our life we always want to believe that we everyone is created equal and the genders are equal, everything's equal. It's like this hyper equalism among everything.
Yeah.
And in nature this has never been the case. Yeah. There's nothing in nature that is equal.
Doesn't all different. I love how people men and women are different. Right. But they're equal. You can be different and equal. You don't have to be the same. The same doesn't mean equal. You know what I mean? Obviously men and women, when it comes to just being a person and being a citizen of this country, yes, you have equal rights. You can vote. You can.
Right.
You can. You have freedom of speech. You have freedom to own a gun. They apply to everyone here, but men and women are different.
Well, so this is the thing. So this is actually even more controversial. And I've never really talked to you guys about this because
what better opportunity than now?
No. See, men and women are not... You cannot say that men and women are equal when men still have the same responsibilities and women don't have those same responsibilities.
Yeah.
Responsibility has to be tied with rights. You should only get the rights that you are responsibly basically accountable to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like you can't say I want the exact same rights as men and not sign up for the draft and not be willing to pay the majority of alimony towards your husband or pay
it's another a situation where men often get screwed.
Correct. Yeah. Oh, the child divorce courts and all that is insane in the Western world. And that's very biased towards women. I mean, it's a shame that it's you can't say, okay, I produce nothing in society. I get on welfare and I'm basically a
The
parasite
government
to
takes-
society.
Yeah, the government takes care of me.
And
I don't do
I get
anything.
to have the exact same right and same voice as someone who works hard and doesn't
Yeah, no, that's
doesn't take
bullshit.
off the system.
And
That's not
It's
parent responsibility with
infuriating.
right.
Yeah, it's oh god, it makes me so mad
Yeah.
when I think about that shit.
Yes, exactly.
It's like, oh, this person doesn't do anything. Like you said, they're a parasite to society. They don't do anything. They don't contribute in any way, shape, or form. But
Right.
they can vote, and they can do all this other stuff. Which, honestly, if you're not really doing anything and you really have nothing to contribute to society in this great capitalist country of ours, you probably shouldn't.
Right.
But you can, unfortunately.
Well, so it's devolving from a republic into democracy, and democracy, as we know, has never ever worked. It's mob rule. That's all democracy is. It's it's two wolves and a hen deciding what's for dinner. Right. That's the very famous quote.
I hate.
And
that.
it's a shame because you cannot have people who are less productive outvoting people who are more productive and asking for more and more government to take away from the productive to the unproductive
I
and
know.
expect your society to sustain
Yeah.
itself and survive.
So
It's insane.
if you can, just to go back just a little bit, because something that struck a chord was the defining the difference between a republic and a democracy. Because unfortunately, nowadays people still don't understand the difference between a democracy and a
No,
republic. So
that's
if you
infuriating.
if you can explain the difference, because again, some people don't understand that, and we are built on a republic, but like you said, we are slowly becoming a democracy. Can you touch on that a little
Well,
bit?
so a republic is basically
More and more people are getting crazy,
Yeah, basically
unfortunately.
a republic is that you have certain inherent, like you have certain rights that cannot be voted away based upon the group consensus. It's tied to like basically there are certain set of rights and certain set of delegation of powers that have to acknowledge the rights inherent to every individual.
It's kind of like an electoral college, right?
Yes, it's like the electoral college
Which, thank God, we have that.
where basically the masses, what is the way society is directed through either voting or through decisions, it's not purely dictated upon just the mass amount of a specific amount of votes. It has to be equal disproportionately to the area and population of a different area. So basically like in the Senate of the United States, every state gets 2 senators, no matter what the population is. But the House of Representatives get a certain amount of electorates from that state based upon population. And the Founding Fathers did that because they knew that if there was ever a high concentration of population and there was no republicanism, it was just democracy. Well, wherever that high concentration of people were, if they all voted a certain way, well, everyone else would have to obey them.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a lot of people on the left, and they do this because they just want more power for themselves. They say a democracy, the United States should be a democracy. Well, if the United States was a democracy, well, then campaigning for elected officials, presidencies, whatever, they would only be in big cities. They'd only be in California,
'cause
Texas,
screw
and New
those
York.
dumb illiterates in
Right.
Oklahoma or whatever.
Exactly.
In the middle
exactly.
of BFE.
Exactly.
By the way, that was a
republic nature
joke. I
of the
know
United
people can read in
States, a
Oklahoma.
republic allows the flyover states like Wyoming, Alaska, Iowa,
BFE.
Kansas, whatever. It allows them to still have a say in government and how things should be done. It also, so let's say, like if there was, let's say like you're in the wild, wild west, and let's say, like you get in a bar fight, and let's say you kill someone. Well, if you kill that person, you are subject to a trial, right? Now, at the trial, you have a certain set of rights that have to be done. You have a right to a speedy trial. You have a right to
Which is
attorney.
incredible. This is great about this country.
You have the right innocent
right to a free
until
trial,
proven
yeah.
guilty.
Which is
Yada yada
great.
yada yada. Well, that's because of those. That is republicanism. That basically means that you have these certain things that can't just be dictated by people.
Yeah, instead of everyone going, he looks guilty, lock him up.
If you were in a democracy, if there was just a straight vote, hey, who thinks this man's guilty? And
Yeah.
everyone's like, I.
Yeah.
And you were really innocent.
Yeah, you'd be
Well,
kinda
you'd be
screwed.
killed. You'd be
Yeah.
screwed.
Yeah.
So because you have, there
not
has
logical.
to be a
There's no proof.
process and there has to be certain stop gaps for these certain things. That's
Yes.
basically what it kind of protects your rights.
Checks and balances.
Yes, it
as
protects
well.
your rights from mob rule. Mm-hmm.
That's essentially a fancy way of saying mob rule. I feel like is democracy.
Is democracy.
You know.
Yeah, I mean that's
Just
the
not
general
safe.
breakdown for democracy is
Yeah.
mob rule, but I felt it was necessary to kind of go in depth on
Yeah.
the difference between the two,
Holy
which I think you
Christ.
did quite well.
Oh my God, we've been doing. Jesus Christ, that was a quick hour 20. My
Oh
lord.
yeah, that's what you get when you get good.
Good,
guests.
Well,
good,
we
good,
can- we
good
can,
content.
Do you guys want to keep going? Or?
Oh, you know what? I don't know. No, well, let's. Yeah, we'll end with the politics crap because I know people are probably wanting to kill themselves. Not really. I hope not. Do it. No, I'm just kidding.
It's a hard pill to swallow.
Okay, so as in, start it off.
Yeah, has it? No. I'm just. I don't know. I wanna ask you guys about what your plans for Christmas. It is December now. God bless it. It's December.
Yeah,
Can you believe that?
I know it's going quick.
Yeah, I know. I have
So
2 more weeks.
By the way,
2 more weeks.
By the way, so just preface anyone who's listening to this. I mean, a lot of the things I talked about, it's kind of like a very general talk. I could go into I could go
Obviously.
into more depth on these things, and I would say that it's really needed because
If
you
anyone
kind of need more of a general understanding of these things
Yeah.
because it helps you to really kind of get it and
Yeah.
see it in a different way.
If any of our non-listeners wanna go into more detail, come hang out with us. You can know us if you're listening. You probably know who we are.
And I definitely could. So.
But yeah, we have Jesus. We have 2 more. Well, I have 2 more weeks left of work until I get put down like a dog. I'm gonna lose my mind, Nick. This is gonna be crappy. And it sucks because our good friend Zach is gonna be coming into town. I don't know when did he say he was coming into town?
I don't know.
Sometime right before Christmas probably, and I'm probably gonna be out of commission because of my surgery, and I'm gonna want to kill myself. By the way, don't let me kill myself because I'm one of those people that I have to be doing. I have to feel productive. I have to
Maybe
be doing
we
stuff.
should roll him around in like a wheelchair.
You should,
and he
yeah.
can't speak, and you should just be like,
just like walking around like I'm a mute.
Yeah.
Like,
everyone will feel sorry
I know,
for us.
I
And,
know.
we'll be like, oh yeah, he was.
You
born
could
this
bring the
way.
podcast to me. Yeah. Hopefully we will squeeze another episode or 2 into this month before I get put down. I may as well die. I may as well get killed. You take me out to the farm and just kill me, Nick.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was planning on doing. So,
Oh shit. Okay.
and I'm gonna use it with a commie gun I get for Christmas.
a commie gun.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna get myself a nice Mosin gun for Christmas. I'm gonna take you out back with it.
Yes.
So-
Well, I give you full permission. If I'm. I really hope it's not that bad because I really would love to do an episode with Zachy,
Yeah, it would.
and that'd
pretty
be really cool.
I don't know. I hope that. I feel like I kind of didn't really explain how I ended up getting to where I am, like
You
politically.
know what,
But
dude? Just move. First of all, you need to live here.
Well,
so
this
that we
is-
can do
this-
this.
this
more
You're gonna
often.
be on
Very
this
long
podcast more than
podcast.
once.
Yes.
So
Yeah. It's not like a one and done thing. Which well,
no,
for some,
the
for some
audience is
people
gonna
it
get
may
to know
be.
Adam really well.
Yes,
So
of course, definitely. He's like, he's the sit-in. He's the sit-in host. He's our ghost host. The brown one, that guy.
yeah,
the one and
Mr.
only.
Yes.
you are the one and only Mexican in our group. So.
Yeah, because we like diversity and stuff. If one brown guy. All right. Well, yeah, I think that's it. Good. And Nick, do you have anything else you want to add to the podcast? You're over there
good.
just looking so ready to get off this recording. I'm gonna strangle you. I swear to God.
No, I was predominantly listening to Mr. Adam.
My wonderful ramblings.
So if you notice my if you look at your computer screen, you see my track. It's very. There was a while where
Yeah, there's a lot of flatlining
yeah,
there.
I say
Nick.
there was a lot of flatlining, and it's for good reason, right? Like I wanted Adam to have his own
I know.
voice. I wanted him to be able to like.
But you kind of gotta like keep him on track. You kind of gotta like slap
Yeah,
him
I
around
know.
a little bit.
I
Like,
know,
no,
it's kinda-
stop.
kinda going off
You're
the wall.
getting too far this way.
But
Come
sometimes
on,
it's
slap
nice.
him
To,
back in the line.
but sometimes it's nice to just take the leash off and just let him go.
Yeah,
so,
that's true. That's
you know.
true. But it helps to pay attention.
Yeah.
So,
Well, anyway.
all right. Well, I guess that's it.